Well, I had an interesting year. I foolishly thought that after I was done with the car show, it'd all be downhill from there. And the car show occurred obviously in the fall of my term, which was 3-4 months after I came in officially as president. So I was fixing to just, boy, get through with that car show and then just go to the meetings and have a good time. Well, as soon as the car show was over, our executive director told me that she was leaving. And after tearing out all my hair, which I've had to have put back on my head, and crying for 3 days, I decided that was really a good opportunity to take advantage of in changing the way the club did business. Fortunately, a club member stepped up and provided an interim executive director position, who was Joe Chitwood. And Joe was just a great guy. He assessed the office on how we did business, how we conducted our financial affairs, all kinds of stuff. So we got a really great, between he and I, assessment of really where we were in the club and how the club did business and how possibly we could improve the operations of the club. So even though it was a lot of work that I didn't anticipate doing, it turned out to be, I think, for the club and for the future presidents, a really good opportunity to make things easier and make things run more smoothly. My third challenge was the contract for the DoubleTree, which is where we meet, was coming up, and we thought, oh well, we'll just go in and we'll sign another 5-year contract and no problem. Well, the DoubleTree had been taken over by new folks, and they were thinking maybe in a couple of years they'd like us to leave because they'd get a lot of business. So that contract went on, and we did a lot of negotiating, which I pulled in some of our members who are in the food and beverage industry that were invaluable, Art Alice being one. And so we just hammered on the DoubleTree. Ultimately, we had a club assembly to decide whether or not we really wanted to stay at the DoubleTree. And it was something that the club was very divided upon, because we knew that we were going to have to increase dues if we stayed at the DoubleTree, but they really, at the end of the day, wanted to stay with the DoubleTree because of the convenience of where it's positioned in the city. So we got the best deal that we could, and I think everybody was happy with that. Those were my 3 major challenges for the year. My advice to our future leaders of the club would be to duck and run. Actually, my advice would be, if you want to get involved in the club, you really need to probably poke your head out and see what Rotary is on an international level. There are so many things that Rotary does in the world that if you're just like I was before I came president, a regular member that liked to come to Rotary and liked to participate in the projects, that you really don't have a real taste for what the whole Rotarian environment does across the world. Having said that, you do get opportunities to really understand how Rotary works. And that can be a real advantage to a person that wants to take a leadership role in the club is to know how Rotary works outside of our club, as far as matching grants, as far as cooperation with the district, and as far as advancing our club. I think that's a very important feature. I had to fast start. Fortunately, I had some folks inside of our club that I used as mentors that knew what the deal was, that I could go to, as I'm sure every young president does. And that was really an advantage. You know, there are very few things in my life that after I've done them, I can say, yeah, every minute was worth it, but it was.
All right.
It provided me with a regard for other members of the club. It provided me with, frankly, experience to manage my life better. And frankly, I think that out the other side, I was a better person for having done it. Now, that might sound a little selfish, but truly, that's how I feel. And I would recommend anybody that has the opportunity. I know when I was asked if I wanted to be president, I called a friend of mine, Mike Anderson. And Mike said, Arnie, if you don't say yes now, they're never going to ask you again. So you better say yes. And upon his advice, I said yes, and it was the best advice he's ever given me, although I'll never tell him that.